Hi everyone, it's Michael from Becker Games. If you haven't seen the introduction to the AI Wizard yet, you can watch that first by clicking on the annotation. I'm going to start up AI Wizard, and on the main page, you'll see there are 7 steps to help you in using the program. There are a couple more things you can do within the program as well though. But before we even use the program, we need to get some training data. If you'd like to download the sample files that go along with this tutorial, you'll need to go to beckergames.com and download them. You should put them in the Documents, Becker Games, AI Wizard directory, since that is where the program will first look when we go to load or save files for this program. However, I will be creating them from scratch in this video, so you can see how easy it is to make training data. I'll start off by loading up Excel. You can use any program you'd like, even Notepad or Notepad++. It's a little easier to visualize in Excel though. I'll show you how to do it in Notepad as well later on. So we have a blank Excel document here. For this sample, I will be having 2 input variables and 1 output variable. The 2 input variables will be some 2 random numbers. The output variable will be the sum of those 2 random numbers. So let's design our first row. This first row is just a couple of labels that say the number of inputs and the number of outputs. X is just an empty cell. So now we just say how many inputs and how many outputs we have. So we put 2 and 1. And again, X for an empty cell. Now we can name our inputs and outputs. We first must name all of the inputs, then we can name all of the outputs. So I'll type first number, second number, and sum. These represent the first 2 inputs and the 1 output. Now beneath these, I can type values for the inputs and the outputs. I can specify the max if I wanted to. If we wanted to set the max to X though, then the program will determine the maximum for us. We then must do the same with the min. So there are the max and the min values for the numbers. Basically, the smaller the world or range you give this neural network, the more precise it can be. I always just leave it as X to let it figure out the max and min for me. It will simply determine the max and min by looking at your data and taking the max and min for each input and each output. Last thing we need to specify is the type of variable. Currently, I only have it handling numbers. So we just type number for each. Now, all we have to do is put in the data. I'm going to generate the data to make things quicker. So I'll just type equals rand, open parentheses, close parentheses, times 200 minus 100. This will give you a random number from negative 100 to positive 100. We will just copy and paste that into the other input. Now, for the sum, we just do the sum of the 2 inputs. Then, let's go ahead and make 100 of these. So we just click and drag, and we're done. We can save it as an XLS if we wanted to. But the AI Wizard will need a CSV file. So we need to go to File, Save As, and choose CSV. Then we want to be sure to save it in the Documents, Becker Games, AI Wizard directory. Now if we open this file in Notepad, we'll find it is all of the data separated by commas. You could easily have done it in Notepad or Notepad++. Or, if you are a programmer, you could output and generate the CSV file. Also note that we could have had as many inputs as we wanted, and as many outputs as we wanted as well. The more complex the data, however, the longer it will take to teach the neural network. To create our sample solvable data, let's go back to that XLS file. Let's delete all of the data except for one. Then go into one of the input cells and click on the formula. Then hit enter. You'll see that both input numbers are randomized again. So now we have two freshly random numbers. Now let us delete the output cell and type 0 instead. This will be our solvable data. So let us save it as CSV. It is solvable because we don't know what the output is, and we want the neural network to make a prediction. We secretly do know the output though, because it should be the sum of the two inputs. But the neural network doesn't know that. We are going to be able to test it with this file. Okay, so now the fun begins. We start up AI Wizard, then we go to the File, Training Data, Load Training Data. If you wanted to, you could reverse the list. This is only needed if your data is date-based and has the most recent records at the bottom. You'd want to reverse it so the most recent records are at the top of the file. In our case, it doesn't matter, since it's not date-based. You can also randomize the records if you wanted as well. This is also not required for our simple sample here. Now we need to go to the training options. One thing that we must do is set the number of records to train and validate with. I'm going to set it to 50 and 50. You can play around with all of these settings, but I've found that the best training algorithm is resilient propagation. Cross-validation is really nice as well. It is best for smaller neural networks. You can use cross-validation to prevent large errors. You do this by choosing weakest link. You'd also choose total average if you'd rather be more accurate overall, but at the cost of having a possible large error every once in a while. I'm going to choose weakest link. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to save changes. You can always save your training options by going to File, Training Options, and Save Training Options. You can of course also load them back too. We should set the neural network options. I'm going to have our neural network be a single layer, 20 neuron network. Now I'm going to find correlations in our data. So I just click Find Correlations. Now what it shows here is that the two inputs predicting the output is 100% correlation. The second input predicting the output is a 49% correlation. And the first input predicting the output is a 47% correlation. The 100% means that our data is perfectly correlated, and that the neural network will have no trouble at all finding the pattern. Now if we wanted to, we'd go to the optimal neuron count options. We could set some of these settings here, then go to find optimal neuron count and click Start Optimizing. After a while, it will determine the best neuron count for our neural network. It's not always the huge neural network that is the best. Also, for optimizing, sometimes it is best to turn off cross-validation when optimizing. Play around with it and see what works for your neural network. After optimizing is done, you'd probably want to go to Neural Network Options and use the neurons for Layer 1 and Layer 2 that the program suggested. Before setting a new neuron count or resetting your neural network, you can save it by going to File, Neural Network, and Save. Changing a neuron count will reset your neural network. So, with our Layer 1 20 neuron neural network, let's start training. We just go to Train Neural Network. Since we had cross-validation on and set it to the weakest link, this percentage is the error rate of the weakest link or the worst possible prediction. So that 2% isn't too bad. After a while, you can probably get it down to less than 1%. If we want, we can test our addition sample at the bottom. Just type two numbers between -100 and +100, and it will use the neural network to predict the output. So I'll try 5 and 3, which should come out to 8, and our neural network came pretty close. I think the neural network is done. Now would be a good time to save your neural network Anytime you have a really awesome neural network, save it. So I'm going to validate the neural network. I'll click Start Validating. It goes down here, and the average error rate looks pretty good. It's really awesome. We can move up and see the ideal output, which is basically the true sum of the two numbers. And then also the actual output, which is what the neural network thinks the answer is. So as you can see, it did a great job. Now, let's give it that solvable data and see how good it really is. Let's put it to the test. So just load up the solvable data, then go to Solve Data. Click the button and check out the actual output. So it predicted the sum of 73.97 and negative 2.67. Let me take my calculator out and see how close it really is. Wow, amazing. It was able to predict something that it has never seen before. If you'd like to download AI Wizard, you can visit beckergames.com. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more awesome stuff from Becker Games. Thanks, and I hope you enjoy.